Google Slides has 800 million monthly active users. If you add PowerPoint, then we're talking, over a billion.
That's Grant Lee, and he's building the Anti-PowerPoint. His company, Gamma, is taking on that billion-user giant with a small and a mighty team of just 50 people. And they've already grown to over 50 million users around the world.
For us, we have had this saying since the very beginning, which is hire painfully, slowly.
How would you balance versus the strong competition coming from the market?
I mean, we really believe that in order to do your best work, that you have to have fun along the way. When we did our AI launch, all of a sudden, every day we're signing up 5,000 users a day, then like 10,000 users a day, then like 20,000 users a day. And this was without any advertising, without any marketing. PowerPoint was invented almost 40 years ago. We want to become a new standard.
Hey everyone! Today I'm super excited to welcome Grant Lee, co-founder and the CEO of Gamma, joining us. If you haven't heard about Gamma yet, it's basically the anti-PowerPoint. It makes sharing ideas and stories so much easier without all the design headaches. Honestly, it's a total game changer for everyone who ever spent way too long trying to make slides look good. Since launching in 2020, Grant and his small and mighty team, just 30 people, has grown the product to over 15 million users around the world. That's a pretty wild growth. And we are so proud at Hockey Stick to be part of that journey, help accelerating Gamma's growth through creator marketing. So it's been amazing to watch it all unfold. So let's jump right in. Grant, so for folks who have not you yet, do you want to kick things off with a quick intro? Maybe share a bit more about your background and I don't know, probably one or two fun facts.
Yeah, sounds great. My name is Grant. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Gamma. We started the company about 5 years ago, and to your point, we're building the anti-PowerPoint. So for anybody that spent a late night trying to format, design a slide, and feeling frustrated by all the mundane, tedious tasks that are required, we're trying to make content creation much more effortless, so that anybody that has an idea that they want to share and express, they can do that in a way that's much faster and simpler. A lot of the sort of inspiration early on for where we even started exploring, and the idea itself came from my prior life. I started my career in consulting and investment banking, lived in slide decks, used it on a very regular basis, and kind of had the same pain points for a long time. Where again, so much time is focused on the formatting and design rather than the content itself. And so, a lot of our early team actually came from another startup called Optimizely. When I was first starting to think about the idea for Gamma, I ended up tapping two of my former colleagues that were still at Optimizely. One was John, who was the VP of product there, and James was a senior engineer there. And so in the beginning, we were sort of just prototyping nights and weekends, and eventually started creating the sort of foundation for what would become Gamma.
Oh, that's so cool. What's so fun is like a tech fail you experienced during the presentation before you start using Gamma.
Oh, before using
Oh, if
Gamma?
you know
Oh,
Gamma,
I mean,
that can also work.
well, I mean, actually, so when it comes to actually presenting, or when it comes to like building a startup, like what are you more interested in hearing?
What do we say the funnest, the most entertaining one?
The most entertaining. So we actually have a pretty fun sort of ritual that we do at Gamma, which is every Friday, anybody at the company can present a fun presentation. It's called Gamma Rama, where you can present on your favorite fast food, or your favorite TV show, or something you're just passionate about learning on the side, and it gives a chance for everybody to use the tool, obviously use Gamma, and then also kind of express themselves. And so the team gets to learn a little bit more about that person, their interests. And for us, it's been a sort of fun, sort of cultural element that we've had since almost the very
Oh,
beginning.
wow, that's amazing. Because Gamma stands out as a prime example of the lean startup. And I would imagine that with such a small team, with a very big dream, that you guys will be working like will be working all day and night, but you still have a lot of fun to have fun.
I mean, we really believe that in order to do your best work, that you have to have fun along the way. You want to do this for hopefully many, many years. Like, we believe this can be our life's work. And so life should be fun. You should have fun along the way. You should enjoy the people you're building with. And if you aren't, then I feel like you're missing out. You're never going to be able to produce the best work if that's not the case.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. And you have a deliberate slow hiring strategy and Gamma, and at
Yeah.
the same time that the AI landscape has been always changing with a lot of competition. How would you balance to think about that? How you can how you will evaluate the underinvestment in the team growth and the resources
Yeah.
versus the strong competition coming from the market?
Yeah, it's a tough one. For us, we have had this saying since the very beginning, which is hire painfully slowly, which means yeah, we're oftentimes, our first instinct isn't just to, hire and try to solve our problems by hiring more and more. We want to move fast. We want to hire the very best. We know we have to hire, but oftentimes we look for ways to, achieve the same results by just either up leveling our internal team or when we do hire, know exactly what we're looking for and know like what great looks like. And so sometimes that means, the founder or another leader on the team is wearing the hat first. So for instance, before we had a marketing team, I was doing all of the, the marketing, and I was trying to learn. I come from a finance background, so it definitely wasn't in my DNA to be strong at it. But I forced myself to learn, what skills I thought were going to be important. And then when we eventually started building out the marketing team, started hiring a head of marketing, I knew what great looked like, and I could really sort of make sure that whoever we brought on board was exceptional.
Gotcha. Right now that there are a lot of companies thinking about the new working culture of 996. Is it something that you guys are thinking about, or you have a different way of thinking about work-life balance?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about sort of the extremes, right? Like, again, when I started my career in investment banking, it was very much 996. Actually, much more than that. You're working, even longer hours typically, and so I know what that extreme looks like. The other, end of the spectrum is maybe the more traditional, 9 to 5, a 40-hour work week. I think for us, we're somewhere in between. We've talked about setting this sort of baseline expectation around at least 50 hours a week is probably what you should be, doing every single week. But then leave yourself plenty of room to make sure that you're energized, you feel like you're recharged every time you're coming back and able to do your best work. And of course, it's not, every week may look different. Sometimes we're really sprinting hard because we're approaching a big launch. And those weeks, maybe the hours are longer. We don't try to be super prescriptive and making it such that every week or every day needs to look exactly the same. I think the reality is everybody on our team works incredibly hard. We want to make sure that they have enough creative energy to come in and again do their best work.
Gotcha. The people always need time to zoom out a little bit and recharge so that they come back with come back with the best of themselves. But still, that we have
Totally,
so
yeah.
much things that we want to do from the product side. Then how do you balance and how do you prioritize in terms of different ideas
Yeah.
coming from the users' feedback, coming from your product vision, and probably sometimes we also need to respond to the market with like a new model update or something.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, it could be. We see it as a benefit because it forces you to be ruthless about prioritization. You cannot say yes to everything. You focus on the things you think are the most important. And going back to hiring, you focus on hiring the very best. You set a very high bar, and you only bring on people where where it's a very clear need. You're not just trying to hire for the sake of hitting a hiring target. You know exactly what role they're going to play. They're going to come in, and there's all these different things that will be their immediate projects and where they can have a huge impact. And so for us, it's actually somewhat of a sort of a benefit, a feature, not a bug, that we are able to have these sort of constraints in place.
Yeah, do you have any framework that the team use to help to structure the prioritization process? What do you?
There's various things that we've used and continue to use. It's not like I wouldn't say there's just one tool that sort of we use across the board. When you think about some of the basic frameworks around RICE, which is like reach, impact, essentially your ability to actually understand like what the cost of like implementing any of these features might be. These are all like things you're trying to incorporate into some sort of heuristic around for any given amount of time of work, like what is the desired output. And so we use loosely some of those frameworks, but a lot of it is, obviously spending a lot of time with our customers, getting their input on what are the things we're hearing the most about. And then when we think about our own intuition for where the market is headed and what we want to offer to our users, how do we then just like sequence things the right way? It's a on a weekly basis we're constantly learning, so those priorities do shift. We don't try to make it ultra rigid and overly scientific. Sometimes it's about really kind of feeling the right balance on
Yeah,
what
so
gets the team excited.
yeah,
Gotcha. Do you have
so
an? Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I just have a interesting question regarding the
Yeah.
customer, or you just talked about. I think the website, the message on the website from the Gamma's website has actually involves a lot from the even the last interview of the beginning of Gamma.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, how's that process? How did the process go? And also, how from the beginning to now, how's Gamma's ICP or customer profile involved during the process?
Yeah, yeah. So, things like, what goes on our landing page or copy that we're using throughout marketing, a lot of it is very experimentation driven. So it constantly changes, evolves as we learn new things, and we're constantly testing, A/B testing different copy to see what has the biggest impact. A lot of the bigger changes definitely happen over time. So, like when we first started as a company, we were still trying to figure out what is the right way to even talk about our product in the market. And so, sometimes we tested different words like, the modern memo, or, what if you could, write like a doc and present like a
Yeah,
deck. So there's a lot of these like catchphrases that we tested. And then over time, we sort of have more converged around just this idea that we help people, share their ideas, bring their ideas to life. And we obviously leverage AI to really streamline the entire design process so people can get those things out there very, very fast. So I think it will continue to sort of change and evolve. Our ICP hasn't changed much over time. So we are a very horizontal product, which means we do serve a lot of different personas, a lot of different use cases, and we intend to do so over time. A lot of our users, not surprisingly, they use us for a wide variety of things, just like
mm,
PowerPoint today is used for internal presentations, is used for external pitch decks, is used for customer proposals. Our users use us for the same things. But it really, when we think about who we want to target, rather than focus on the persona, we're focused on the pain point. Like, what are the universal pain points that we can try to solve? And in our case, it's the universal pain point is, I might not be a great designer, or I don't have design skills, I don't have design resources, but I still need to communicate my ideas visually. So how do I do that when the existing tools all force me to like move every pixel around and mess around with layers, resizing boxes? What if I don't want to
yeah.
do any of those things? And so Gamma can be the sort of universal solution to that universal
I
problem.
agree, because right now I see that your the way you present on the website is focused on the use cases that those your
Yeah.
personas can create. For example, website,
Yes.
social media, and presentation. So I think the use case has already expanded a lot.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, use cases expanded, still kind of addressing the same
I see.
pain points that the end user has.
And for the use case expansion, do you so for the company vision, are you thinking about to continue to expand it, or and then we'd love to hear more about your thoughts about where is the company's vision?
Yeah. Yes, we definitely intend to continue expanding the formats and use cases we support. A lot of that is just customer driven, user driven. So when it comes to just the overarching idea that you want to present to others or share your ideas with others, we want to support our users in any way they want to share their ideas.
Mhm.
Certainly, presentations are still one of the main ways people present and share their ideas. Other people have needs to create microsites or landing pages or websites where that's how they share and spread information. Others are very active on social media and be able to create carousels. In the future, being able to post videos. Those are all things we want to be able to hopefully support. So wherever a person wants to be able to create and share their ideas, and whatever platforms and where they need to distribute that content, like we want to be able to support and hopefully for even users that haven't been exposed to some of those formats, we can be, they can learn about them through Gamma. They might start with a presentation and then learn that they can turn their presentation into a website. And so we want to be, the very first time they ever publish a website might be through Gamma because we make it so easy.
So that's really, really cool. And the things that we're starting expanding the use cases that probably make our competitors like more, because we're not only competing with the PowerPoint for presentation, but now we are also competing with maybe Canva, maybe all the other that we are competing with all the other creativity products as well. So in that sense, that how you're thinking about the landscape of AI business presentation that continue to evolve, and what you thought about the that we can penetrate into more market versus to defend versus the more established the competitors and the all and all the AI newcomers.
Yeah, I mean, the market, I think, as we've learned, is just very massive and it continues to expand. So there's a lot of different platforms that will have similar SKUs, like similar, formats, presentations, websites. I think we want to be focused on, the end users that love Gamma today, which a lot of them, again, they don't have design backgrounds. They don't, they don't see themselves as a designer. They are the everyday knowledge worker or everyday business professional, and those are the types of users we really want to support. And we think today they're mostly underserved. That it's a part of the market that doesn't yet have a lot of tools, and so we think we can continue to do a good job of making them happy, making them successful, and then from there allowing them to collaborate with even more of their colleagues, all in Gamma.
Yeah, maybe I have a quick follow-up. So is it also maybe a way to, because I saw you already launch also team plan, pro plan, and you also try to expand it into maybe SMB or business customers or segments, quite different from last time we talked about. So is it also a way to establish your moat or establish your retention in the larger segment or larger customer group? So I just wonder, so how does that part build into Gamma's product roadmap, and how do you envision, not only individuals but also more and more people in the company or business starting to use Gamma?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we started our journey serving much more of, a prosumer base of users, individuals, small teams. We are now starting to expand into much larger
Right.
organizations, companies of all sizes. And so, yeah, for sure, if we want to become, a viable alternative to PowerPoint, we have to be able to win over businesses and businesses at scale. So like much, much larger organizations.
Okay.
Gotcha. So that does that mean that we will start to that transition from more like a PLG company to maybe PLS, or even start a SLG motion?
I think for us, it's all sort of we're adding on top of like our PLG motion. So that's still the foundation. It's where we believe we still have a lot of room to grow. And certainly when you look at the prosumer segment, it's very big and growing. So we still think we can continue to expand just in the prosumer segment. And then on top of that, we think we can really start serving businesses. So companies of all sizes where, today they're probably using slides in either Google Slides or PowerPoint. We want them to move over to the modern alternative, which is Gamma.
So for the prosumers versus SMB, then is there any like go to market that strategy difference that you will envision, and in order to execute that strategy, do you envision that your team structure will slightly to change, and now that team's very small, then do you have a team to have plan to also to expand the team and to add different functions as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to go after, B2B, you definitely will need a sales team. So, today our go-to-market team is pretty small and mostly marketing. Over time, we'll start building out the sales function so that we can actually start selling into organizations. And so for sure, that's going to be, something we start doing very, very soon. But again, it should be very complementary. So our prosumer product is how we build a brand people know about, that they trust and they love. And in many of the companies that we then sell into, there should already be existing Gamma users, people that were using the product. And now there's a chance for the rest of their team or the rest of their company to start using it, and they'll be our internal champions. And so we want obviously both of those to be coexist, to be very complementary as the prosumer brand and product gets used more and more. Make it even easier for us to sell into businesses of all sizes.
Yeah, maybe I just have a quick follow-up. So I remember I talked to some people also from Notion or Figma, which also established really well transition from PLG to SLG now, but still they find out that there are also some features or surprisingly that required so differently from people
Yeah.
in the enterprise and the individual contributors. Or so have you discovered the same or something also very surprisingly that the SMB or the business customer want, which are not actually in our individual roadmap? And I would love to hear if you have some stories.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're just an individual, one of the biggest differences is many individuals or even like freelancers, solopreneurs, they don't have, their own branding, for instance. They don't care. They don't need to be able to upload their brand
Yeah.
guidelines and really strictly abide by that. Whereas companies, they care a lot about their brand and they want things to feel consistent. They don't want, slides to look like they're all over the place, or like, something that feels like designer wasn't involved. And so we have to do a lot more work to be able to support the various sort of brand guidelines that are
Mhm.
in place, and ensure that we always honor that in the content we create. And similarly, a lot of bigger companies, they have a lot of their own assets. So they might have huge content repositories, like images that they use, stock images, patterns, icons, and so we want to be able to better support that. Today, it's possible to use a lot of the existing content, but we don't make it super easy and it's not streamlined. I think when we onboard, more business customers, the ability to maybe to kind of pull all of that in during the implementation or during the onboarding experience are going to be really important. And so we're thinking a lot about that. And then, yeah, I think, business use cases also expand into areas like data visualization that are really important, and we want to be able to support that much better than we can today. So the average prosumer may not have as much sort of need or consistent need for that, but we do think a lot of the internal business use cases,
Mhm.
that's going to be a heavily used set of features. So we want to make sure we invest in that as well.
Yeah. So I think with the help of the vibe coding tools today, they will also make your team more productive in building those enterprise features.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, so now that we're also expanding into enterprises, and then we will probably have all the feature requests that are coming from both the enterprise segment, small and medium business segment, as well as the prosumer segment. Then how you think about prioritizing the feature requests that are coming from all the different ICPs?
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, for us, most of the features we think will be equally applicable to both the prosumer and the average, the business use case as well. And then I think this is where, some part of the team will be dedicated to building out much more of the B2B feature set, but they can do that in parallel. And so it won't disrupt sort of our obviously desire to continue to innovate on the prosumer, set of tools that for any end user they're going to find valuable, but will allow us to essentially start doing both.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have another interesting topic on the product side is the Gamma agent, because I'm start to using agent a lot, and also I also try to compare what the agent can do and what previous those AI features in those tools
Hmm.
or bar can do. So I'm very curious, how do you envision the agent as part of the visualization or creation process for individual user? How much of part of the creation will be conversational based, and how will the other part of the creation process will still based on the feature, and how the whole process will involve in your team's vision.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we see our agent basically as if you have your own design expert sitting right next to you, and you can ask your expert to do all sorts of things. Be able to review your entire deck, offer suggestions, make the design changes for you on your behalf. And we think as the agent gets more and more capable, you can sort of start leaning on the agent to do way more. Today, it's already pretty powerful, but still limited in capabilities. And so, obviously we want to be able to expand the sort of power that the agent brings. I think there's also opportunities for you to, skip maybe the agent altogether, where some of the actions are just very quick, and we can also proactively suggest certain things. So we're still trying to balance out those two, sort of user patterns, like in which cases will you just default to using the agent for everything, versus in some cases maybe it's just quicker to be able to present an option, and you just, as an end user, you're just selecting between one or two variations. So we'll constantly be sort of trying to balance the two. With our agent launch that came out only a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
this was our first big push into it. So right now we're just starting to see all the different ways people want to use it. We'll continue to learn and then continue to sort of evolve the overall process.
I see. Because my favorite part is to talk to him and then let him suggest or make some recommendations on the styling and the coloring
Yeah.
and formatting. So that's how I interact with this on this new
Yes.
agent.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and that's a lot of what we hope to do even more of in the future.
I see. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So with the agent launch, then I see that we actually execute a really big campaign with with all the different channels. I would love to hear more background stories for that. And you also have a really cool video where you were in spaceship, and
Yeah.
and then we have several people, and several people around me that they're all really curious about the background story about how the team prepared for the launch.
Yeah, months of preparation for us. We want to be able to tell, a fun story too. So it's not just about a launch, but like what are ways we can involve more of the team. Sometimes I like to make an appearance in some of our videos, or the marketing team will ask me to be someone, one of the characters in a video. So I'm always happy to help out where I can. And we have this internal saying around, don't be boring. So we always try to, again, going back to the fun element, have some fun even in our content. So our launch video, we decided to do more of this sort of keynote style, but rather than do it in an office, we did ours in a space shuttle, or at least a space shuttle set, movie set, and it was a fun way to do something a little bit different. And we filmed that. We ended up, doing our best to sort of amplify it pretty broadly, and working with creators to also just help tell our story to their audiences, and used our launch month, which was September, to really go big and try to amplify it in as many ways as we could.
Yeah. Maybe a quick follow-up is, especially entering this year, I saw your marketing team playing a lot on the brand marketing side, not only on the YouTube, on creating very creative videos and the drone show and also the billboard. So I just wonder, how the philosophies or your plans behind, and what kind of channels have you tried are very effective, or maybe making some advices for founders who are also start to think building the brand marketing, like you said, which is more important or should be performed before the performance marketing on your post.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just wonder if you can also share some insights and also some practices.
Yeah, definitely. So a few things for us. I very much believe in the saying, brand and culture are two sides of the same coin, and we care a lot about our internal culture as well. And we think we have a team that is, very vibrant and energetic, and loves, is passionate about the space. And so we want our brand to also reflect all of that. So we actually went through like a rebrand early in the year in April. A lot of that was to take the brand that we initially had since the very beginning of the company, and just think about all the ways our team has evolved and what we want to represent going forward. And so we went through that rebrand. That rebrand just gave us a chance to also just think about, like, as we do more, as we produce more and more of our own content, you need a lot of different DNA to be able to actually have cohesive content that you're putting out there, all the sort of art direction and visuals and everything that you're encapsulating in that, both short form and long form video. We wanted to have enough building blocks, and so part of the rebrand was just to make sure that that was the case. And we believe that brand and sort of performance marketing, they're all marketing. Like, you need to have both. They're not different things. Brand should be something that helps really drive performance marketing, if not in itself just be something that increases your aperture and your ability to reach users. And so we believe really in investing heavily in that before we spent much on anything else. And now that we're sort of through the rebrand, I think we're starting to benefit a lot from having a very cohesive image in our and like look and feel in all of our content. And we felt like it was the right sort of investment. I always encourage, when you talk to like early stage founders, like the most important thing before you even worry about marketing and maybe even brand, you need to think about, do you have a product that has strong word of mouth? Because word of mouth is really the only sort of, I guess, marketing that can amplify everything else, right? If you get strong word of mouth right and the product itself kind of sells itself, everything else becomes easier. And if you don't have a product that is selling itself, like rather than focusing on any other types of marketing, just focus on the word of mouth. Like, you need to have a product that or can grow organically. And until you have that, you should only be focused on that. Once you have that, then you can find other ways to amplify the sort of word of mouth and organic virality. One great way is to lean in on creators and influencer marketing, because what we found is that influencers actually help amplify even further the word of mouth that we're seeing. They help really be complementary to our own PLG motion, and so for us it's been a very complementary relationship. And I would say if we had invested in that too early, it would have been a waste. But once we felt like we were getting strong word of mouth from the product, it's all been really net positive investment for us.
Any specific metrics or data point or moment that will help the team to have more confidence that we already have that moment?
Yeah, I mean, for us, the moment was we did our big AI launch back in March 2023. And prior to that, it had taken us, like 8, 9 months to get to roughly like 60,000 users or something. And so, we saw, we were still seeing new users come through, but the sort of growth has sort of plateaued a bit. And then when we did our AI launch, all of a sudden, every day we're signing up, and in the beginning it was like 5,000 users a day, then like 10,000 users a day, then like 20,000 users a day. And it kept on going up, right? And this was without any advertising, without any marketing. And so just by people using the product and telling their friends and colleagues and family about it, it was starting to grow organically. And I think that's what you really want to be able to see is like, is your customer base, user base just sort of growing organically? And if it is, then you can obviously then really start, amplifying it and like, magnifying it that through all different forms of marketing. But we really wanted to wait for that moment where the product was just growing on its own completely without any additional input from us before we worried about anything else.
Gotcha. And for that type of growth, do you intentionally design the product in a way to encourage it, or is that are there any other effort that the team put into to really be able to amplify it in addition to the creator marketing?
Yeah, I mean, you're really just trying to capture that first, few seconds that a user has when they get dropped into your product, and can you make them understand what you deliver and the magic you can offer like as quickly as possible, and then make it as easy as possible for them to share and talk about your product with others. If you can make all of that sort of feel dead simple to them, then you just have a much higher chance of a product that can sort of grow on its own. So yeah, we really sort of optimize for the first user experience, making sure that feels as special as possible.
And one thing to add that what I like about the amplifying the spread is that you made a badge at the right corner, the made by or made with Gamma. And I think
Yeah.
this is a cool product, I would love to the badge to stay on the on the
Right, right, right.
presentation. I can share with others because it is a cool product other than the normal PowerPoint. So I think this is also a really nice way to amplify the spread. Yeah.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely, if you have product where you do have a free user base and have the ability to have some sort of badge or made with Gamma button in our case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way because people like to be viewed as like a tastemaker or like someone that discovers cool new tools. And if you are lucky enough to be in that category, for us, it's been great because then all of our free users are helping spread the word as well, even if they
Exactly.
haven't yet had a chance to upgrade.
Yeah. Maybe I have a quick follow-up. It's about retention because I think on
Mhm.
the when you are in a really high trajectory of the high user growth, and the first question probably is that how did you discover or discover those so-called visitors, right? AI visitors from the
Mhm.
real ideal customer profile, and have you ever done any way to improve the retention during the process for the ICP? Or at that time you just focus more on the user growth other than something else?
Yeah, I mean, when you first launch your product, it's probably still pretty basic. And so then you need to go back and, really follow up with all the users that are churning to understand, what was it that didn't deliver on the promise, that you were trying to make to them. And oftentimes, not surprisingly, it's things like missing features in the product, or in our case, not only that, like maybe AI wasn't able to do X, Y, and Z because it was too limited back then. And so you go back and figure out ways to get more out of what AI can do. And of course, also like AI models are constantly improving. And so what wasn't possible 2 years ago may be possible today. So every step of the way, we've been trying to just learn, where are we falling short? How do we improve the product? How do we make sure that when someone signs up for Gamma and they experience it, like it actually aligns with their expectations as closely as possible? And when you start doing that, you start seeing all of your retention curves like improve. And this is what we've seen sort of consistently. Like every time the product gets better,
Mhm.
every new cohort of users sticks around longer and longer. And as a product, that's all you should be focused on is just making sure that that's the case. Like all the things you're doing are actually improving the end user experience, which leads to better retention, which leads to more stronger word of mouth, etc.
Gotcha. And just to add to that, do you have a good way to how to help this team to source and to streamline the user feedback?
Oh yeah, yeah. So user feedback has been definitely something we spent a lot of time thinking about. So we run a lot of user tests where we'll recruit different types of users, sometimes completely new users, so someone that's made presentations but non-Gamma, sometimes existing users, so people that know Gamma but maybe haven't learned all of its features, and sometimes power users of Gamma, people that know the product super well and we're about to launch something completely new. So we want to understand, like, does this actually align with your needs and your expectations? And it's pretty powerful to watch users kind of go through the product, and then they can describe what they're seeing or describe what they are expecting. And when the expectations are very far from reality, that's where you start hearing some of the pain and confusion in their voice. And then it's really helpful to go back and actually kind of deconstruct, like, what's going on here, like what did we miss? Because before we show these users, obviously we're oftentimes testing it a lot ourselves or have some hypothesis around like how this will be used. And then when you get into the hands of users, when there's a big gap or a big discrepancy, we can go back and actually fix some of that and just better understand how do we improve our own assumptions. So it's been powerful for us. We've done it since the very beginning, and we expect to continue to do so as we mature the product over time.
Gotcha. Is there a recommended like a frequency format and the system that you can recommend for early stage startups?
In the beginning, I would be doing this pretty often, especially anytime like big things are changing in the overall user experience, whether it's the onboarding or even later stage. we have tried a few different tools that have been very helpful for us. One, and for full disclosure, I'm an investor in, is called Voice Panel, so that they leverage AI voice to help also kind of have a more guided experience. And then there's like usertesting.com, which has been around for a bit, and we leverage that as well. And that's where people can share their screens, and you can really see where they're getting hung up or getting stuck. We try to run tests very regularly, and anytime we're testing something new, you launch it to a good batch of like 20 plus users, and see what's actually going on, and then if needed, just run that test over and over again until you finally feel like you're making the right progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. And since we are a horizontal product, then I assume that we would need to be able to cover all the different ICPs. Then how are you able to balance that with the only two?
Yeah, I mean, that comes back to like, yeah, if you're sourcing, you can definitely make sure that you're always sourcing from a representative sample across different personas, different use cases, and ensure that if there are opportunities to improve the product, it really is across the board. Or if it's very specific to one persona, then the question is like, what would you try to fix specifically to help that persona without undermining the other users you have.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think, yeah. So I think right now, this year, we have our total user has already reached over 50 million, and huge congrats on that, because it was
Thanks.
just amazing year of the user journey. And also, I just wonder, how your growth engine has been built up. Going from last time like 10 or 20 million last year to 50 million, and how does Dimension continue to grow or to be built based on the current user basis? Have you built or tried any new channels, or have you continued to double down on the previous most effective channels? And
Yeah.
what's your take behind that?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we still focus a lot on word of mouth. So making sure that that's still the biggest contributor of overall growth. People using the product, and this includes like organic virality, sharing it with others and bringing other new users to the product. And then on top of that, I think we found a lot of success with influencer and creator marketing. So really being able to find the right channels there. For us, it's actually spread across all sort of the major platforms, both short form and long form. And so we haven't yet tried to just focus on one, like go all in on one. We found it to be sort of helpful to different channels or different platforms have different types of personas that gravitate towards those. And because we're a horizontal product, it's almost like each one brings a different type of pocket of users, and we're okay with that. And so the challenge is you kind of you need to invest across all, and you have to then have a good sort of strategy to maintain the ability to actually work with the right people across all those platforms.
Yeah, and for the creator marketing and the brand building side, I truly resonate with your proposition that brand marketing should be for performance marketing. But we also got asked a lot of times by the founders, like how should we evaluate that our brand marketing effort is actually effective?
Yeah, I mean, one it's some channels obviously have better attribution than others, and so you're never going to have perfect attribution, but you can start measuring in product. You can ask people how they heard about the product. If you have the ability to attribute, then you can obviously corroborate that by just looking at last touch, or all the different touches that might influence a user's journey. And then you can also supplement that by actually talking to some of your power users or your users and say, hey, where are all the ways you're learning about the product or hearing about the product, or sharing about the product. And I think that can just inform you around like what is the right way to think about it. And this is where for us it's been pretty consistent that creators and creators that tell Gamma's story in their own voice to their audience, it's just a powerful, again, very complementary to our own content and our own product. And so for us, it's been very powerful. And you do your best to have some metrics that you're looking at, and most of those, as long as they continue to trend, positive, and even if it's not perfect attribution, but you're able to attribute some of it, then we feel confident that there's always going to be some level of halo effect that you're not going to be able to measure perfectly, but it's there.
Makes sense. And for the online content that sometimes we saw that is sometimes created by the creators, but we also see a lot of content that's created by what they call that are created by Gamma ambassadors. And do you want to talk more about that program?
Yeah, so from pretty early on, we kind of reached out to our power users. We call them the Gambassadors,
Ambassadors.
and we invited them to a private sort of Slack workspace where we can just continue to maintain active dialogue with them. So share access to early access to new features. Anytime we have interesting milestones, we oftentimes share it there. It's the first place many of them go to share feedback or bugs or feature requests. And so it's been powerful for us just to nurture that community. Many of those power users are also active on social media, so they are oftentimes helping us spread the word when we do have an interesting announcement. They can go out there and as proud users of the platform, they can really be good representative and a powerful champion for us externally.
Yeah, we actually saw several ambassadors that they feel pretty excited to be part of this exclusive group. And for this community building side, how do you think about the community as a part in your overall growth and the marketing system?
Yeah, I mean, I know community, often that word now gets thrown around a lot, but I think there's a lot of power in investing in it, especially early on. You never want to be so far removed from your users where, you don't feel like you're able to hear their voice clearly. And the only way you can do that, is by investing in it. And so for us, it started off more as a Slack workspace. We've tried to evolve it over time. Like more recently, we invited a lot of our power users to our office in San Francisco to meet us in person so we can do a lot of different workshops together. And as we build our online university, for them to be able to give us a lot of input. And so, my advice, yeah, just to founders in general is like whatever community means to you, just try to invest in it and try to nurture it. And even as you get bigger, the temptation is to stop being as active, but you got to resist that temptation. You got to still like be as close to your customers as possible because you can't take them for granted. They have committed their time and energy into learning your product, oftentimes evangelizing your product, and your success is really much predicated on your ability to have users that love your product that much. So we remind ourselves constantly that like everything we do is in service of our users, and if you have lucky enough to have a community, you have to be invested in them.
Yeah, great. And just to follow up, so have you any plans or further plans to expand the community events to other countries or other areas? Because I saw this year, like Cursor has got their first meetup
Yeah.
in Tokyo because a lot of users request for that. So I just wonder whether we have future plans to, move more offline events to other parts where there are also a lot of ambassadors there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we want to do a lot more of that next year. So we're starting to plan for much more international events in general. Like, most of our team right now is based in San Francisco. We have a global user base, so we know we have to do more. So yeah, we want to do a lot more community, user-driven events outside of the U.S.
Okay, I really look forward to that.
Yeah, so in addition to international expansion, then as Gamma scales, what are the other challenges that you anticipate?
I mean, yeah, there's obviously, international is a big one, but also, going from prosumer to actually serving businesses and enterprise, that's also a big one. And then going from like a single product to being more multi-product. So, we're offering we're building and developing our own API, which will serve, completely different set of users, potentially more, developer focused or, integrating deeply with other platforms. And so, yeah, I think the complexity of the business will increase. We're excited, but it just means that as we grow the team, yeah, we want to make sure that we can still serve all of our different types of customers with really high level of engagement and trust and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, And looking ahead, then what's your vision for Gamma in terms of the product innovation and the product positioning?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to where this all started, which is we want to be we want to become a new standard. PowerPoint was invented almost 40 years ago, and when you look at what people use today to present their ideas, Google Slides has 800 million monthly active users. If you add PowerPoint, then we're talking, over a billion, monthly active users likely, and we think we have an opportunity for next generation of business professionals to embrace a new standard. And we really want to be that tool of choice where when they have something worth presenting and sharing, Gamma's the no-brainer solution that they go and pick up. And we have a lot of work to do to earn that right, but we think, over a long time horizon, we can do that.
Yeah, and maybe to give a little bit more the deep dive into to how do you think of the AI, the role of AI or generative AI will play in your your future vision, and has gonna be the agent focus, or you are just trying something else in order to to get AI involved with your usual vision you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too early to say long term what that might look like. 4 or 5 years. I think is just the honest answer is it changes so fast. I think our vision right now is for AI really to be your partner. So it's we're not trying to remove the human. Human is still very much responsible for having the ideas, and Gamma can really help you shape the ideas and share your ideas. And when you're stuck, whenever you feel stuck, Gamma can help you sort of get unstuck. And we think that where the agent plays a role, it's going to only expand in the near term. And then over time, I think we'll have to see like how do we even interface with these different types of tools. I don't think we know yet, but our bet is that as long as we can stay close to our users, be really close to how AI evolves, then we can always make sure that we're taking advantage of AI in the best way to optimize for the end user.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So I think we're almost time. So we
Okay.
probably want to end with two quick fire questions.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
And
Okay.
do you have one, Ning?
Yeah. So I have one question, and probably Grant, you can spread out the first words that come into your mind. So you talk about a lot on the culture on your X, and when you say you want to hire generalist, so what are the top three qualities you look for, and as a suggestion to startup founders?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a few qualities for me that I always look for. A part of this is also baked into our cultural values. The first thing I look for is around like a high level of empathy, someone that can put themselves in other people's shoes and appreciate how hard things might be. This is important both internally as well as externally. So internally, you're working with a lot of other teammates. Sometimes life happens, and like how can you make sure that you're acknowledging if someone either made a mistake or isn't living up to their expectations, like what else might be going on, and having a deep appreciation for that. Same thing with our customers. Sometimes we fall short of their expectations, and so how do we, and they might be super angry, and so how do we make sure that we approach that with a very empathetic lens? So that's important. We hire people that have high sense of craft, so they're constantly learning, trying to get better. There's sort of like this sort of endless pursuit of becoming this trying to deliver like their life's work, and like that never ends. And so that means they're just constantly learning and growing. And I think talking to people that approach things differently, you'll just get a sense for how hungry they are to learn and grow. And so that's really important. And then like both honesty and the sense of like ownership are very important. So we have a saying internally, like don't let things fester, which is like if you have something on your mind, like get it out there, make sure that you don't hold back. And I think we really admire people that are able to express obviously their thoughts in a very constructive way, but like how do you get that out there so that we can build the best company possible?
Well, that's really insightful.
Really, really insightful. The second question is two words to describe Gamma in 5 years. What would they be?
Gamma in 5 years, yeah. we want to be ubiquitous. So that just means like everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we want to be, it's not just a tool that that salespeople use or just a tool that product managers use. We want it to be everywhere, and we do want it to be delightful. So I think so much of software today you are forced to use. Like when I talk to a lot of people that spend their lives in PowerPoint, it's because they have to. And like the last thing they want to do is spend more time in PowerPoint. Like they dread the moment. And I think what I've seen a lot of our users describe is going from that sort of moment of dread to actually going into Gamma and feeling kind of fun. And and it doesn't feel like they're forced into using that product. It's a very high bar to maintain, and so we really want to be a tool that brings a little bit of delight and magic. And hopefully, in 5 years, that continues to be the case.
Oh,
Really
nice.
love
I like the word.
magic. Awesome, Grant. So thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you so much, and see.
Thank you.
We'll be
Yeah.
seeing you again.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye
Talk to
bye.
you soon. Bye bye.